This last story I am pulling from The Atlantic magazine, fantastic magazine. I'd recommend you check it out. It is one of my daily stops in journalism and where I get news, a lot of news. So I wanted to share with you elements of this. Perón's economic legacy in the early 20th century, Argentina was one of the world's wealthiest countries. I didn't know that. Ranking 7th globally in gross domestic product per capita. Richer than France or Germany. You think that's truly amazing. South American country, richer than France and Germany way back when. Now, when Juan Perón took power in 1946, Argentina's GDP per capita was about 80% of US levels. Again, an astounding fact. By the time he was ousted in 1955, it had fallen to about half. I mean, that's a huge, dramatic drop. Perón's model of tariffs, subsidies, and nationalizations created entrenched cronyism, runaway deficits, and persistent inflation. The results only worsened over decades of repeated Peronist governments. By the 1980s, annual inflation hit 3,000%. Today, Argentina ranks 65th in GDP per capita, with average income less than 20% of US levels. Roughly 40% of Argentines live in poverty, and 2024 inflation exceeded 200%. Perón took a nation at the doorstep of developed world prosperity and locked it into 80 years of stagnation. His legacy is a warning. Personalist ad hoc economic policy creates not growth, but long-term decline. So what's the real message here? It's not that Donald Trump is the next Adolf Hitler or the next Pol Pot, but he is the next Perón. The United States could be the next Argentina, meaning a wealthy country that is destroyed by someone who wants to do a tariff here, cronyism here, a little more nationalism here, and have everything controlled by one guy. It's not necessarily communist. It's not necessarily a monarchy, dictatorship. I don't know what you call it, but it destroyed Argentina, and Trump seems to find Perón to be his role model, and it should make us all very scared. Okay, let's dig a little deeper here. I have been troubled at times by so many people in the center left, and left part of the world making comparisons of Trump to Adolf Hitler. Now, historically, factually, the comparisons are very apt with what he's doing to shut down dissent, Gestapo-like secret police, trying to pick winners and losers in the government, the fascist type of things. But it's troubling to me in part because it instantly makes people say, well, that's too extreme. Well, we don't have to even listen to this. We don't have to pay attention. Nobody's as bad as Hitler. So there these liberals go saying, Trump, just because he doesn't like affirmative action, is Hitler, and it's too extreme. And therefore, we can discount everything these Democrats, these liberals, these centrists, these mainstream media say. So that's the problem with constantly harping on Trump as a fascist, although it really is extraordinarily apt. Leave that aside. There are other better examples, warning signs, and it had not occurred to me, in part because of my own ignorance. I don't study, 1940s South American politics very often, but thankfully the Atlantic did, and it is truly amazing the similarities between Perón and Trump. Wanting to be idolized, the big busts, the big pictures, the big billboards of them everywhere. Wanting to control industry, wanting to pick winners and losers, wanting to make their cronies rich and harm their opponents, trying to control the money supply. Again, these facts are absolutely astounding. And in the early 1900s, Argentina was 7th in the world in terms of gross domestic product. I think I misspoke in the news read earlier. They weren't close to being a developed nation. They were a fully developed nation. The gross domestic product when Perón took office in 1946 was 80% of the United States. So that was a pretty affluent country back then. And a mere 9.5 years later, he brought it down to only 50% of the United States. Inflation hitting 3,000% because he wanted to print money. He wanted to control his own version of the Fed, which is exactly what Trump wants to do. Trump doesn't believe in actually raising taxes to pay for bills anymore. We did that under Clinton. We got closer to that under Obama. And now we've seen the budget deficit explode under Trump because he seems to think that we can't become Argentina. He seems to think the rules don't apply to him. And now with him trying to muscle in his henchmen into the Federal Reserve and muscle out anyone who doesn't give him what he wants, with him trying to extort companies like Intel and American Steel to do whatever he wants and give him a piece of them, it really does look exactly like what happened in Argentina. Did Perón go around and murder 12 million people and slaughter 6 million Jews? No. Is he going to go down in history as the worst butcher, along with Stalin and Pol Pot and Hitler? No. But would any fair-minded, rational American today say, you know what? Let's do what Argentina did. It worked out so well for them. Let's do the same thing. And yet we seem to be on that path. And today, the average income of someone living in Argentina, 20% of what the income is if you live in the United States. I mean, that's just astounding. They had 80% of what Americans had before Perón. Now they have 20% of the income that Americans have. If that's not enough to make you think, let's figure out every single thing Perón did and let's do the opposite, I don't know what is. But Trump certainly seems to have fallen in love with this Peronist model. And you know what? Yeah, it was good for Perón while it lasted. He felt really important. His face was everywhere. His bust was everywhere. His face was on billboards. Everyone bowed down to him. Every business person bowed down to him. Sound familiar? Everyone was praising his genius all the time. Sound familiar? So maybe those of us who are not fans of Donald Trump and think that he is in fact destroying the single greatest democracy in the history of the world, the single best form of government in the world, the best economic system in the world, should do more and more pointing out these similarities between Argentina and how Perón destroyed their economy and indeed their entire society. That may be a better model than constantly pointing out what has happened in 1930s Germany and 1940s Germany and 1940s Italy, although the similarities are pretty astounding.